So so many of us in line are on a first name basis with each other, and there's somebody else who's not a line member, but I think just about everybody in line is on a first name basis with Kenny from Broadstreet.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you guys for having me, by the way.
Absolutely, and thank you for helping make this possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Broadstreet kind of grew up with Lion. For those of you who don't know Broadstreet, it's an advertising company. We deliver a lot of the ads to a lot of Lion publishers, and I think we've been, working with Lion since 2012 or right after when you guys launched. So at a block by block mindset. Broadstreet, like in a lot of ways, is a reflection of the publishers in Lion. We've been through the same process. Like I started Broadstreet. It wasn't easy starting out, but we finally kind of hit our stride, and it kind of grew up, and a lot of Lion publishers have done that as well. So I know everybody in Lion, kind of know your needs. But what I want to talk about, I want to actually ask first, how many people are involved in ad sales, or someone on their team is involved in ad sales? Okay, cool. So how many people have actually heard of 10 Advantages, which is an ebook we wrote, and kind of like did a terrible job of marketing it? All right, cool. So we sent it around to some people and then like forgot about it. But 10 Advantages is actually a really good resource because it's everything that, I've never used Keynote before, so we're going to learn this on the fly. Oh, there we go, it was just lagging. So 10 Advantages is like kind of a 36-page guide of like everything that we've learned at Broadstreet, everything that's worked for our customers, hasn't worked for our customers, but it really goes into a very deep study of what Facebook and Google are really good at and what they're not really good at. So as a small publisher, we've all seen the chart. There's a place for the chart in this presentation of like the news revenue declining, right? There's crazy drop off and every presentation has it. It's like, okay. But who's captured all that revenue? And then primarily Facebook and Google, right? So the question is, if we're going to coexist in the world of Facebook and Google, we kind of have to understand what the strengths and weaknesses are. And we also need to think about redefining advertising. Because a lot of us are still stuck in the very print model of advertising. We're stuck in a way of selling ads and packaging our ads that isn't actually beneficial, isn't doing anything for anybody. All right, so this book really goes into it. And this book is like, you open the first page and there's so much in there, it's like, I'm going to read this later because I don't have time for this right now. So what ultimately happens is that people either never read it or they read it 5 times over because they really liked what was in there. So if there's someone on your team who's involved in ad sales or you do ad sales, I would say read it. Great airplane reading. So, all right. So if I had to boil it all down to one quote, there's a lot of quotes from different Lion publishers and magazine publishers throughout the book. But if I had to boil it down to one quote, it's Scott Broadbeck, who basically says if you are not selling ads, you're trying to help improve local businesses. And like 10 or 15 minutes ago, I was talking to Joe Hyde at San Angelo. He basically says, my #1 ad sales strategy is working with that customer and making them feel like I'm there for them. There you go. And it basically making that, and that's like what a good salesperson does, is convince them that if they work with you, you're going to do a great job for them, right? But when you're selling ads, especially when you're a reporter and sales isn't your thing, we kind of get lost in that. It's like, okay, just sell an ad, maybe someone will buy an ad, and like we don't really have that mindset. So what 10 Advantages is really about is how can I convince an advertiser that I want to work with them, I want to help them, right? So what are those 10 things we can do? So I know there are a lot of publishers, Uriah, we've talked about this too. What are ways to deliver value? That's what it comes down to. If you're going to help somebody, you have to deliver value. So what does that advertiser see in you? That's going to say, if they're going to spend $500 a month with you, do they feel like they're getting $500 in value back? Whether it's working with somebody that really cares about them, whether it's the thing that you're actually selling, right? Because you're not going to, if you can't convince somebody, and every single person who spends money in this room, you feel like if you go and you spend $10 downstairs and you get a small hamburger, there's no value there, you're not happy, right?
That's what happened.
Exactly, that's what happened. So, but the same thing with advertising. How many people, if you ran a business, would buy a 728 by 90 ad on a website that's in the leaderboard? How many people here even think that digital advertising as it is today is even effective?
I I think it's
It's a question, right? And that's what's crazy is that as businesses, we have to go out and sell this thing that's not effective, right? So it's like, let's rethink what we're selling.
Don't tell them.
Right. So the question is, what is value? And it's kind of like a philosophical question, but I think ways to explore what value is. What would you buy, all right, if you ran that business? What are your clients' chances for return on investment? So, like, would you ask a coffee shop to spend $500 a month? How many cups of coffee do they have to sell? They have to sell like 10,000 cups of coffee, right? To make that, maybe not 10,000, maybe a few thousand. Very unlikely that an ad for them is going to help them sell coffee, right? And if you're talking about like a car dealer, like a local Chevy dealer or something, they sell one truck, maybe that makes sense. Local bank, okay, they get a new client, maybe it makes sense. One new account can pay back on that ad. So is there a chance for return on investment? Also, what are you doing differently compared to everyone else? So if you're selling 300 by 250s and 720 by 90s and all the things that everyone else is selling, why would they work with you when they can just go on Google or Facebook and do the same thing for as much money or maybe even less? And the last piece is, are you confident? So when you're going into that sales meeting, right? And most, especially the entrepreneurs, are petrified going to the sales meeting. Are you confident with what you're about to sell? Because when I jump on a demo for Broadstreet, when I'm about to do a sales demo, I am very confident that I'm going to show them something that is going to impress them. And my general view is that if they're not impressed, they're stupid. And that's it's kind of a good attitude to have because maybe you're excited about your own product, but you have to believe in the thing that you're selling. If you go in there and you're a little shaky on it, if you're kind of like digital advertising isn't really it, there's a problem. You're going to have a hard time selling. So,
I think one of the things that you just said is very important. And who's going to buy a 728 by 90?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody, right? Because I don't buy a drill when I want to hire somebody to give me a hole, right? I want to sell the hole in the wall, and by doing that, you're going to the customer service, the advocate for the business. You know, that 728 by 90 or whatever that size ad is part of that entire package.
Right. But then there has to be the belief. Advertiser has to look at that thing and say, this is representing my business really well.
Absolutely.
Or this is going to do the job. Because they can draw a straight line from what you're saying this thing's going to do and what they think it's actually going to do. They might be like, I don't believe you. Get out of here.
So I don't think, I think it's important to note that we're selling more than just ad sizes. Thank you, sir. We're selling more than just ad sizes. I think it's an entire package, and that confidence as a salesperson to walk in to know that your product will deliver the return on the investment with that advertising.
And yeah, so and the other side of that is the thing that you're selling has to look like it's going to actually do the job. You know, so if it doesn't, they believe in you, but the thing you're selling is garbage. Like, you know, so let's bring all aspects of that package, you know, to that top level. Do you agree?
Absolutely.
So the other part of it is that, you know, what I think a lot of people who are starting out don't ask is like, you know, what's your client's goal? You know, so people who've done this for a little while, they get it. You know, they understand that. They have to understand what the client actually wants to achieve and all that kind of stuff. But what we'd say is like, what's your client's goal? Understand what they want. Do they want to get more people in the door? Are they trying to promote some event? Whatever it is, right? And you kind of tune your proposal to that. That's where the chart's supposed to go. So there's good news because all we get in this industry is bad news. Right? Every newsletter that goes out, every story that gets published is all about the doom coming. Right? But the good news is that Google, Facebook, and ad networks, they're not invincible. Right? They have problems too. They have weaknesses that you can exploit. All right? So this is the Google and Facebook lunch eating machine. First is scale. Right? With Google and Facebook, you have an unlimited scale. You can reach anybody. Facebook, billions and billions of users. Anybody you want to reach, you can probably reach. If not through Facebook, Instagram. Same thing with Google. Data. They have more data. I was just thinking about this. I can't think what data scandal could actually break that would actually surprise us. What piece of information would we be even surprised that Facebook has? I can't think of one thing. If the most egregious example, I'd be like, I guess, no, whatever. Go back, next article, I don't know. So they also have intent. right? So they have scale, they can target anybody, but we literally tell them what we want as well, right? So in Google, if you're looking for, God forbid, a mattress, right? Then you're going to get mattress ads following you around forever. But that's a huge advertiser there, so now they know what you want. So they have like all this incredible targeting data, which small publishers don't have, right? So they have these amazing things, and it doesn't really look good at this point in the presentation. But they also have problems. One is a standardization, right? Standardization, IAB standards, 300 by 250, 720 by 90s. These things exist so you can run advertising at scale. And the industry tends to move very slowly. Additionally, so you can't run anything really at scale outside of those standard little box ads that don't do a very good job of being effective. The internet average click-through rate is 0.06%. It's terrible, right? So, so they have this problem with standardization that they have to basically sell the same ugly pixelated banner ads, and that's the only way they can run these ads at scale. They also can't do anything particularly innovative. If you think about it, internet's been around for like, how many years now, and digital advertising hasn't changed at all. It's really because of standardization has held it in place. Advertising has always been creative. It's always been something that, and the internet, the most dynamic medium to ever exist, advertising, what it is, has completely solved that. Fraud, scale, invites, views, don't have to say any more about that. There's probably, you Google ad fraud, there's probably 7 things on Ad Exchanger right now. And then transparency, lack of transparency. Run a Facebook campaign, who clicked on it? Run a Google campaign, I set a budget, and I'm watching that budget dwindle, where's it going? And then you have no relationship with the end client. So they have, they captured all the revenue. It's kind of the headline's a joke, but they have problems that you can exploit. So how do you capitalize on that? So really, also, how do you help your client better than anyone else? How do you help it better than Google or Facebook? So then ask the question, what can you offer? Whether it's you and what you're selling and how you can work with the client, what's too good to turn down, right? So if I demo somebody Broadstreet, what do I know that they're going to be pretty interested in? So that's what, think about, what is that thing? So there's actually 10 things. The first advantage, and the book goes very deep into this, and I'm very high level on a lot of these slides. There's only 10 of them. The first part is community support and affinity. A lot of people know Potomac Local, a lot of people know San Angelo and Joe at San Angelo. And then how many Berkeley side? I stayed in Berkeley for a month last year. Everybody knew Berkeley side. So there's community support and affinity that maybe startups don't necessarily have so much, but once you've been around for a while and established yourself, you have the same face, people get to know your staff, and it's something that Facebook will never have. I don't have any loyalties to Facebook or Google. All right? And over time, just like John at Red Bank Green, you end up building a community around your community. People know each other from, I know lots of people just through Red Bank Green. The other part is you have a direct relationship. So, and some of these are kind of soft advantages, and we have some hard advantages that come. So direct sales, this is Wendy Cohen at Berkeley side. They are that person that I was talking about that is going to help you be successful, right? This is like the direct salesperson. They're going to guide you through the process because just like you guys, we talked about, or someone said, you guys have 85 other things to do. Oh, Facebook said that. You guys have 85 other things to do. They do too. You guys know that. And advertising is something they maybe want to do. Not everybody wants to do it, but maybe they do, but they just don't get a chance to get around to it. They certainly don't have time to log into Google AdWords and figure things out. Oh. So this is the other part. You have complete autonomy. You can do whatever you want on your website to get your advertiser interested. So this is the thing that we're actually selling. There's so much focus in the industry on targeting, right? How do we target, this kind of data? How do we build these AI bots to get the right person to click on this ad? But the ad, the thing that they're actually clicking on, the thing that they're actually reading, that thing really sucks, right? That 720 by 90 isn't affected. I'd never buy one. I was just talking to Shireen at Wausau, pilot review, right? There's a huge ad at the top of Wausau that I'm a big fan of, right? And I guess people are pretty divided on it. But this is a really large unit that advertisers love, right? I can't imagine if somebody offered me that ad, and I have a few examples in here, I could not say no. Advertising can be dynamic, it can be informational, right? It doesn't just have to be a static banner ad, it can be timely and informative. And I think you called them instant news posts for a while, right?
Yeah, well, we call them the instant ad. And then, well, thanks for the mic. So what we did at one point is we integrated the instant Facebook ad that Broadstreet has onto our website, and we labeled it sponsored content, right? And we made it so big that it matched the size of our editorial posts. And it really worked out nicely for us, and it looked good too.
So advertising can be informational. It doesn't have to look like advertising. It's something that people can look at and say like, this isn't a banner ad, it's something that is telling me something. So I'll show you an example of that. Advertising is supposed to be creative, and it's supposed to help get an appointment, right? It'd be great if you could create something before a sales appointment that gets the advertiser to say, you know what, I mean, it's hard enough just trying to get an appointment with them, but once you get there, you want to be confident in the thing that you're selling, so having a couple options. Some people call these spec ads, creating something before the sale. If I had to guesstimate, I'd say from the publishers we've talked to, seems to be about 25%, or it helps in ad, it's 25%, you are 25% more likely to close a sale if you show something to the advertiser ahead of time. Right? If they can see it on the site, it doesn't have to be running live, but they can see it ahead of time, 25% more likely to buy it. Or the nice thing about also selling different things is that advertiser says no, happens all the time, you have a reason to go back in the future. Right? If you have something different, you can go back. If you're still selling banner ads, didn't work before, why is it going to work this time? So just getting into bigger ads. So you're starting to see, like, when I first started talking about big ads, people were like, great, I need big ads. They're like, but now you're starting to see, I'm watching the Post, New York Times, you're starting to see some really big stuff, right? Now those publishers are starting to break out of these things, right? And now they're putting this here. So this is Sweetwater now out in Wyoming. I think 3 advertisers rotate through this, and the publisher does pretty well with them. I don't have a Green's example. Do you think this is big? The one on Wausau Pilot Review is fantastic.
I'm looking at it right now, and it is impressive. And whatever you're charging
You can
for
just
it,
turn your laptop or everyone can
whatever
see it.
you're charging for it, it's not enough. I mean, that's brilliant.
Let me just say,
Two-thirds of the screen.
I've never had a reader complain about it either.
Yeah.
And readers do complain about certain things. They don't like the placement of something. Maybe they don't like an animated ad. Maybe they will tell you if they don't like it.
And I also bet that you
Never
get
had.
businesses asking for this spot, too.
Oh, I have everybody asking
Yeah.
for that spot.
Way to go.
And then when they find out how much it is, they're like, well, or maybe not. But I've gotten some really good advertisers on
Yeah.
that spot that I don't think I would have gotten without that nobody else has.
Fantastic.
Right, so this is another one, Whistler Chevy, all right? Can't really see because it's, it's projector, but it's very crisp, very high resolution, looks fantastic. Owner loves this spot. You can see, you can almost like kind of get a sense of like how good that Chevy looks in the ad. And if you think about it, a lot of the magazines that we're working with now, they're going from like full-page glossies, country clubs, kitchen contractors, right? And then they move online and they don't want to touch it anymore. They're like, I don't want this, this pixelated banner ad. How are you going to put a picture of a kitchen in that thing? You need something like this to deliver that kind of impact. All right, so this is the most obnoxious ad format Broadstreet's ever made, right? We make all these ad formats to give publishers different ways to create ads, just get attention. This one is called the Cube. It's a rotating cube. This is running on Fargo Monthly right now in the sidebar. And they're just, it's basically 6 images that rotates through. Like I said, it's really obnoxious and annoys a lot of readers. Some advertisers absolutely love it, though. It's not my place to decide what's going to annoy a reader. I just provide the options. So these are social media ads. They'll pull from like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're having a little issue with Facebook right now. But they pull in the latest content from, and this is what we're talking about, informational. Good Karma Cafe in Red Bank, New Jersey. Everybody loves it. Right? Pictures of food, people can't resist. It's like primal, right? You see, I ran a picture of a cheeseburger as an ad in Red Bank Green sidebar, highest click-through rate of all time on an ad. All right, just a picture of a cheeseburger, like 1.5%. So, and then you have like, Seabright Yachts right here. It's not even advertisement, but it's definitely just keeps the reader looking. Anyway, so I'll run through the rest of these pretty quickly. Another thing is sponsorships. One thing that I was just talking to Shereen about, Wausau Pilot Review, you go on the food page, You have a different advertiser at the top than you do on the homepage, right? This is section sponsorship, and something that we're starting to see a lot more, where you basically have an advertiser own one section of the page. It could be a series of posts. I think Matt at Project Q does, he has like a political series going, and gets one sponsor for that series. That's another big thing that they're doing. Own a newsletter, so sponsor a newsletter, that's something we're seeing. The nice thing about sponsorship is that they're higher price. You don't have to get 100 advertisers on board to keep the lights on. You can get maybe 10 to 15 sponsors, maybe 10, at a higher amount per month. And you can just keep a flat rate, because another beautiful thing about selling something that other people don't, it's not apples to apples anymore. 728 by 90, there's an idea of how much that's supposed to cost, CPM, right? CPM assumes everybody is the same, right? So CPM is a dangerous model, because not only does it assume everyone's the same and that you're not selling anything different, but it also puts you in a place where your revenue as a business is dependent on the gatekeepers of the world, like Google and Facebook. Facebook changes their algorithm. That's never happened. All right? Your traffic gets cut in half. Where's your programmatic revenue go? Right? Or where's your revenue from CPM go? Right? Same thing with Google. Google News is constantly, you get taken out of Google News, and now all of a sudden you're taking a hit on advertising. Or that was. I like the effect though. So, another big piece is sponsored content. Some publishers don't want to run it. The ones who say they will just say, send us the sponsored content, we'll run it. It's really effective when you write the sponsored content, your team writes the sponsored content. You guys are really good at telling stories. So business owners love reading about themselves. Flat pricing, you can do flat pricing. Like I said, you give Google a budget of $250 or $500 or $1,000, you'll watch it dwindle, and you don't know where any of that money's going. So then, do you spend more? Do you spend less? With flat pricing, you have the ability to, you have building blocks of revenue. You say, okay, if this spot's going to be $1,000 a month, and this other one's going to be $1,000 a month, you can start to build up an idea of how much you're going to make. And that's really important, is have these building blocks of revenue, right? Because if you're doing a CPM model, you don't really know what's going to happen in May. What are our down months? If you have flat pricing, you can predict what your revenue is really good if you're a business. Newsletter, very powerful. Advertisers want to be in your inbox. A lot of publishers are starting to leverage their newsletter for advertising. And you can run the same ads on your website that you do in your newsletter, manage it all through the same platform. Transparency, you can be much more transparent. You run a campaign on Facebook and Google, where did the clicks come from? You just don't know. You want to know, did I reach the right people? Did I set the right keywords? If I did spend the money, how much of that money actually went to buying the thing that I bought? Right? Because we just heard that, I think it was 60% of the money that ad spend actually goes to things that are not actually buying the ad. Right? Publishers end up getting 30% of what was originally paid. So there's a lot more transparency, especially in the reporting, if you can offer those reports. So Broadstreet offers those kinds of reports. I'm not here to pitch Broadstreet, but transparency is something that you can offer on a local level that's relevant. Guaranteed placement. You can tell someone your ad's going to be right there every time. Your ad's going to be in the sidebar. Very powerful, because a lot of small business owners, they want to see that. They want to go and refresh and check their ad and make sure it's there. And then lastly, better performance. So Broadstreet publishers, the average click-through rate is around 0.2% across our platform. There are a lot of them. An exchange click-through rate, or the global internet click-through rate, is usually 0.05 to 0.1%. I think the official estimate is 0.06%, but then it varies based on ad sizes. This means that you can charge almost if you're delivering a 0.2% click-through rate, you can charge almost 4 times more than someone offering a 0.05 to 0.1% click-through rate, right? So it really comes down to performance. And if you can deliver better performance, then you can charge more than somebody else. So you have all these advantages, and like I said, the book goes very deep into them, but it really comes down to, actually, at the end of advantages, they say, Kenny, these are awesome. These are awesome, and as soon as I get a chance to sell an ad, that's what I'm going to do, right? So as entrepreneurs, especially journalists, anybody that has a passion and turn their passion into a business, you find that your passion ends up being a distraction from your business, right? So you need the money to keep this whole thing running, but you spend so much time doing the reporting that you don't get time to sit down and focus on the sales, right? So what I'm saying is, find uninterrupted time to focus on the sales. If you're an entrepreneur and you're just starting out, you have to find that time. If you don't, and Broadstreet for a long time, like I said, we kind of had our struggles too, right? Like sales didn't just happen. It wasn't until I started sit down and realize I'm not just a programmer. Like I have to be a salesperson too. So that's when things turned around for me. And I've noticed when publishers actually take the time to do it, that's when things start to turn around for them too. So it really comes down to what are you selling? Are you providing that value? Who are you selling to? Do they have the money and the budget to actually do all this? What are their needs? What do they actually want in their campaign? Because they tell you what you want. You put in a proposal, something that's going to help them do what they want, more likely to be a sale. And what you can't deliver, this is the other part. A lot of publishers, they say, well, I don't even know how to price ads, right? Price at the baseline, you should be pricing them to help you survive, right? There is a minimum amount that you can charge, and it's how much you need to actually keep doing this thing, right? So then you have to price your ads based on that with those flat price building blocks, all right? And what you can't deliver in traffic, you just started out, you're only getting 10,000 or 20,000 views a month, deliver in value, right? The bigger ad, whatever it is, because if you can't deliver the traffic, you have to bring it up. If you're going to charge $500 a month anyway, even though you're going to have a lot of traffic, what are you going to do that's worth $500? So this is kind of morbid, but Kevin, if you know Kevin, it's actually kind of funny the way he said it. But he said, every time I get a chance to sit down and think about ad sales, somebody goes and gets killed, right? Meaning someone gets in an accident or something like that. Meaning that there's always something that comes up. You just got to run out the door and go do it, right? That's what happens. So you have to prevent that distraction. Just close out email. Turn off, God forbid, the police scanner. A lot of people are very hard to do. Right. So the advantages are great, but they're only useful if they're exercised. Just make uninterrupted time. I wrote an article about it, sharing my own story of like really sitting down and doing sales. And then if you're into it, airplane reading. Might fall asleep, wake up, fall asleep. Like I said, so much in there. And I probably almost put like 2 months of my actual effort into writing it. So there's a lot in there, something I think you guys would really like. So thank you so much. Taking too much time, so I think we'll call it there.
So 2 things.
Yes.
There is so much waste, fraud, and abuse, not only in the halls of local and state and national government, but in this digital advertising, right? And one of the things that you as a publisher can do is to regularly send out the reporting for their ads, show the analytics, show the impact, show who's interacting with the ads, which on my site I also consider to be content because I am a Broadstreet customer. I use a lot of their instant ads and I consider it content, and so I send that out automatically, and my advertisers love me because they're never hounding me for stats, right? And they can look at those stats that are sent to them, and they can compare them with their own Google Analytics, and they match up, and it takes away the doubt, And the second thing is on sponsored content, we do a lot of sponsored content, and we really like it because it's not crap, right? It's content that's sponsored, but our rule is it would still go on our website even if it wasn't sponsored, right? So everyone wants to read a good story. We want to tell a good story. This one just happens to be sponsored content, and we work with the business to tell a good story, not because, and the story is never, we have the best product, the best service, the best. No one wants to read that. We look for an angle the same way we would journalistically, and tell that sponsored story and label it appropriately. And that goes a long way to diminish, again, that waste, fraud, and abuse that we see in digital advertising by so many of those mega players. That's another way we work to solidify our relationships locally within our community. Work for us, work for you.
I think we've got time for a couple of questions or comments on this topic.
Hi, I'm Sally Waterman. I'm with MinPost, and we're unusual in that we have the privilege to have someone like me who's dedicated to advertising and sponsorship. But I do have leaderboards on my site, and we have them because they are a lower price point. And I think that there needs to be some managing of expectation if someone needs that, and I have it. When someone wants to purchase that, I go through the pros and cons of each position on our site, because I am also dedicated to our mission, and I will not bump news content for advertising. It's one of our policies, and it makes the advertising and sponsorship on our site more valuable. So I think there needs to be some positioning there about the audience and the products that we're selling. So that's just a comment. My question is, my click-through rates are higher in my leaderboard than the average, much higher than the average you mentioned. But are you doing a cost per click, or how are you charging 4 times more without guaranteeing a response rate on the banner position?
Right. So our whole philosophy is that digital advertising pricing should be flat rate. So we should get away and break the mold, and really don't play the CPM game. Play the CPM game, and it assumes that you are selling the exact same thing that the New York Times is selling. And then you guys might have a higher CPM, but do advertisers ever look at that and be like, that's that's high? Is that ever an issue? Do they ever look at the price and wonder why your CPM is so much higher than everyone else's?
Right, and that's when I explain who our audience is, and that we're not a commodity, and we don't sell our advertising like a commodity. And sometimes most of the time I'm successful, but many times, sometimes I'm not. But if they want to bump our news content but there's certain things I won't do that they might want to try to increase their response rate, and that would be a mistake with our audience.
Right. So what I was saying about the flat rate pricing is that basically what we'd suggest publishers do if they kind of want still the CPM model is figure out what their CPM is and kind of multiply it out by their monthly page traffic and then just stick to a flat rate. And the reason we say that is because, and we say deliver value to help fill in the gaps there. But the thing is, as a business, you need to have predictable revenue. If your revenue is going to be 75% next month of what it is this month, it's really hard to have a staff on that. So I know that Broadstreet, and this is kind of a thing for us, we used to have our metered pricing, which means that depending on what our client served, their traffic, they would get charged however many dollars per million ads served. When we did that, our revenue was every month, right? We couldn't predict it, so we needed to have this baseline in order to actually study that out, and that's why flat rate as a business, if you're especially a small business, you don't have the scale to do all that. That's why we're big proponents of it. So, so that last slide wasn't saying charge 4 times the CPM. It was really just saying that you can deliver better performance with your website.
Can you give an example of a way that you fill in with values that you just mentioned?
Oh yeah. So when I was going back to those huge ads, for example, right? So this ad, this is $1,500 a month. This isn't a standard IAB size, right? It's just a bigger size, and depending on what the customer wants, let's just say this is a drop down or something like that. We want to make it so hard for that advertiser or the agency to compare or to give this a CPM in their head. Because so if they look at if it was $7.20 by 90, they'll be like, oh, I don't want to pay any more than $2 or $3 CPM for that. For this, they kind of have it breaks that model, and you kind of want that to be the case. So our thing is prevent apples to apples comparison. You want to sell something different. That's what it is. It's differentiation. It's a big part of sales, and if you're selling something different, Whistler, they know they're going to be here 1 out of every 3 page loads. It's powerful for them. They know they're going to get this branding. They're going to be big and prominent. We have real estate agents. We have lawyers who do the same thing. You can imagine lawyers, maybe it's generalization, seem to be kind of ego-driven sometimes. Love their big face right on the front page of the site, right? Real estate agents, huge house, all that kind of stuff. So it delivers us value. And then again, value is it's soft. There's the 10 advantages are all about delivering those different pieces. How you can really make an advertiser feel like they're getting their money. Because really what it comes down to is if you're going to ask somebody for $1,500, what would you feel good about spending $1,500 on? If you can answer that question, that's filling in the gap. Does that make sense? Is that agreeable? Not agreeable?
I agree with some of that.
Joe Hyde, San Angelo Lab. First of all, I have to say that I've been using Broadstreet since 2013 nonstop. We've gone to different levels for the years. We have ours integrated with Google VFP, so I have a little bit of a disagreement with this. Selling statically, I think the CPM model is better because particularly if you're into breaking news, what's your motivation for going out at 2 a.m. to the house fire if you're not going to make any more money, right? With CPM banner ads, I'm going to make more money if I get more traffic. So now I have an incentive, I have something I can train my guys around and say, look, we need to get 15,000 unique users today so that we can make these revenue targets.
Why do I want to be incentivized to leave my house at 2 a.m.?
Exactly. But I'm just saying that what I found, I started off doing flat rate, and I transitioned to CPM because I said, if I'm going to work harder, I want to make more money. Now, the way we take care of the customer that way is we now sell our banner ad packages in like strikes. So the biggest problem you have with a local advertiser, $1 million, $2 million annual revenue guy, is that they want to see their ad, or the ad's not running, right? They have to see their ad. So we'll package their ad with our email newsletter, and then we'll compress, let's say, 150,000 banner impressions over 2 days. So if you do that in multiple ad slots, and every time you load a page, you see their ad. And so that way, the other thing is the newspaper revenue model. Remember, you went in there and you bought the ad for Tuesday, right? Well, this is the same thing. I'm selling a CPM banner ad campaign that they want to run Tuesday and Wednesday, so it's kind of the same thing. Anyway, I just want to get another idea on that. But one last thing is the reporting out of Broadstreet is the best you're going to get. Published everywhere. There's no better way to do reporting for your clients than keep those early Monday morning emails that go out to all your clients once a week. And I attribute that reporting is keeping a lot of customers, a lot of monthly recurring revenue. So it's well worth you still have me on the metered plan. It's well worth the metered plan. So anyway.
And we're running a little bit late, so I think we need to, unfortunately, cut this conversation a little bit short.
Real quick question.
Real quick.
What are the current thoughts? Yeah. Thanks. What are the current thoughts on video ads? Because all my competitors have them and I hate them.
Right.
We don't.
So video ads as in pre-roll or just kind of standalone somewhere on the page video?
Just kind of auto-playing video ads.
Oh yeah. So we have video ads just because they're requested by our customers. Really, our publishers sell them the same way, flat rate. You can do CPM on Broadstreet. We're not going to tell them, we just preach flat rate. But yeah, you can't even do in a lot of browsers autoplay with sound on anymore. I think Chrome disabled it, Safari disabled it. So now you can do autoplay with the video rolling. It's still kind of cruel because the user is paying for that bandwidth, for preloaded video. So if it makes a sale, honestly, I'm for anything that makes money.
And Kenny, your video player, your YouTube player can do the autoplay with the muted sound, right?
Right, yeah. So it does do that. And that's actually the only choice now. So it used to be that you could do that. Have you ever been to CNN and it starts up the the video player? People get annoyed by that.
I actively avoid sites that do that.
Mm-hmm.
If you see that URL and you're like, nah, I'll go somewhere else and find
Yeah,
it.
exactly. But one other thing, so for pre-roll, I don't see a lot of that among especially smaller publishers because they don't produce video content because it's too expensive to produce. So then they don't have pre-roll. But really, like I said before, anything that gets a publisher saying, I'm for it.
Thank you, Barrett.
All right, thank you guys.